This video is for The Living Earth, Unit 4.2, DNA. Today's essential question is, what are the components of DNA and RNA? Hello everyone and welcome. Today we are diving into the fascinating world of DNA and RNA, the molecules that make life possible. But let's start with the basics. Both DNA and RNA are types of molecules called nucleic acids. A nucleic acid is a large molecule made of repeating smaller units that stores and transfers genetic information inside cells. In simple terms, nucleic acids are the blueprints of life. Like other big molecules, nucleic acids are polymers, meaning that they are made of repeating building blocks. Their building blocks are called nucleotides. Each nucleotide has three important parts: a 5-carbon sugar, a phosphate group, and a nitrogenous base. Simple ingredients, but when combined, they provide something powerful to the cell. Now, let's focus on those bases. In DNA, there are 4 bases: adenine, guanine, thymine, and cytosine. These bases form pairs, but only specific ones fit together. Adenine pairs only with thymine, and guanine pairs only with cytosine, like perfect puzzle pieces. Speaking of DNA, what exactly is DNA? DNA, which stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, is a molecule that carries all the instructions an organism needs to grow, survive, and reproduce. Now, let's talk about RNA. RNA, which stands for ribonucleic acid, is very similar to DNA, but it's designed for a different job. It helps carry out the instructions encoded in DNA. There are a couple of key differences. In RNA, uracil replaces thymine. RNA usually exists as a single strand instead of the double-stranded structure we see in DNA. Another important feature: the nucleotides link together to form a strong sugar-phosphate backbone with directionality labeled 5' to 3'. In DNA, there are 2 strands, remember, each running in opposite directions. We call this being anti-parallel. Here's where it gets iconic. The 2 strands of DNA twist together to form the famous double helix. A double helix is a spiral-shaped structure, kind of like a twisted ladder, where the sugar-phosphate backbones form the sides and the base pairs form the rungs. It's one of the most beautiful and essential shapes in all of biology. Now, even though RNA is single-stranded, it can fold into complex 3-dimensional shapes. These different shapes allow RNA molecules to act like catalysts, transport other molecules, and even regulate chemical reactions inside of cells. You can think of RNA as the handyman of the cell. Now let's talk chemistry for a second. Because of its phosphate groups, DNA is a polar molecule, meaning it has regions with slight electrical charges, just like water. That is why DNA dissolves easily in water, but it clumps together when placed in alcohol. Now, where is DNA stored? In eukaryotic cells, like those of humans, plants, and animals, DNA is carefully packaged inside a structure called the nucleus. Inside the nucleus, DNA wraps around special proteins to form compact bundles known as chromosomes. A chromosome is a long, coiled piece of DNA that contains many genes, like a library packed into a single book. And here's a fun fact: different species have different numbers of chromosomes. Humans have 46 chromosomes. Dogs have 78. And the adder's tongue fern, over 1,260 chromosomes. But more chromosomes does not mean a more complicated organism. In simpler organisms like prokaryotes, which are bacteria and their relatives, DNA is organized differently. Instead of a nucleus, they keep their DNA in a region called the nucleoid. And instead of linear chromosomes, they usually have a single circular chromosome. Quick review. DNA is a double-stranded, stable molecule that stores genetic instructions. RNA, on the other hand, is a single-stranded, flexible molecule that carries out those instructions. And one last important concept, gene expression. Gene expression is the process by which the information in DNA is used to create proteins, the workhorses of the cell. Without gene expression, your DNA would just be an unread instruction manual. At this point, you should be able to generate a full and appropriate response to today's essential question. What are the components of DNA and RNA?